I never imagined a single text message could dismantle 23 years of marital commitment. Yet that Thursday evening, standing in my own kitchen, I discovered just how silent betrayal can be until it erupts. My name is Maren Whitlock. I am 47, a mother, and a wife who had unwavering faith in the life we'd cultivated in suburban Michigan, until my husband's phone illuminated, until she appeared at my doorstep. This is the account of how I maintained my composure as everything crumbled around me, and how I ensured the truth blazed even brighter. I was in the process of wiping down the countertop when it happened. The air in the kitchen held the familiar sense of roasted chicken and lemon polish, a comforting aroma that always accompanied Thursday evenings. Upstairs, the steady drone of the shower indicated Ellis was indulging in his customary post-work, long, hot bath. I had just placed the last dish into the drying rack when his phone, left carelessly on the granite island, vibrated with a soft buzz. The screen cast a faint glow in the subdued light. That moment held immense significance for me. My hand froze mid-wipe, the dish towel dangling from my fingers. I stared at those words, a simple black inscription on a white background originating from an unknown number. My heart didn't initially race. It simply ceased to beat. Then it struck with a heavy thud, once, twice, as if struggling to catch up with reality. I do not snoop. I never have. But in that instant, something within me shifted. I picked up the phone. His passcode was still our wedding anniversary. Pathetic how accessible it was. I opened the messages, just enough to glimpse the exchange, enough to comprehend. My thumbs moved before my mind could intervene. I typed back, "Come over, she's gone." I pressed send. The regret was immediate, a chilling wave washing down my spine, but the message had already been dispatched and delivered. I placed the phone precisely where I had found it and stood there, listening. The shower water continued its steady rhythm. The wall clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed a low, consistent note. 12 minutes. I counted every single one. I lowered myself onto a bar stool, hands clasped in my lap. My reflection in the darkened window appeared as that of a stranger. A calm face, steady eyes. Internally, my thoughts spiraled in tight, chaotic circles. Who is she? How long has this been going on? Why tonight? Yet, I did not weep. I did not call out to the upstairs. I simply waited. The doorbell chimed, its sound slicing through the stillness of the house like a sharp blade. I walked to the front entrance, smoothing my sweater, and opened the door. Colette Vance stood on my porch. 49 years old, elegant, even in the faint porch light, clad in a perfectly tailored coat and subtle makeup that spoke of a deliberate, not casual, arrival. Her face paled noticeably when she saw me. "Where is Ellis?" The words hung suspended between us. I stepped aside. "Come in." She hesitated for only a fleeting second before crossing the threshold, her heels making soft clicks on the hardwood floor. The scent of her perfume, something expensive and floral, permeated the entryway. It was a familiar fragrance, in a way that churned my stomach. I closed the door behind her with a quiet click. We stood in the living room, neither of us opting to sit. The silence stretched. Upstairs, the shower abruptly stopped. Footsteps crossed the bathroom floor. Ellis descended the stairs, his hair still damp, dressed in a gray t-shirt and joggers. He reached the landing and froze. His gaze flickered from me to Colette, then back again. There was no outburst of shock, merely a fleeting expression of calculated surprise that I was present to witness this. "Maren," he began, his voice low. I offered no response. I watched Colette instead, noting the way she glanced at him, a silent conversation passing between them. They weren't scrambling for pretexts. They had evidently been through this scenario before, at least in their minds. The realization settled upon me like a layer of frost. This was not a momentary lapse. This had been developing quietly, right beneath my own roof. Ellis completed his descent down the last steps. "This isn't what it appears to be." Colette touched her necklace, regaining her composure. "We should converse like adults, Maren, all of us." I studied them both, observing the careful distance they maintained, the way their eyes met for unspoken support. My voice emerged even, almost gentle. How long have you both been anticipating my stepping aside?" The question landed with palpable weight. Ellis shifted his stance. Colette's lips pressed together. For the first time, neither had an immediate retort. The grandfather clock in the corner seemed to tick louder in the ensuing quiet. I did not raise my voice. There was no need to. The residual steam from Ellis's shower still lingered faintly in the air, mingling with Colette's perfume and the lingering essence of our family dinner. Everything that had once been ordinary was now tainted. I felt the encompassing presence of the house around me, the framed photographs adorning the walls, the children's old trophies displayed on the shelf, the very essence of the life I had poured into these rooms. Colette began to speak again, something about misunderstandings. But I raised one hand slightly, not as a command, but simply as a subtle gesture. Ellis was in the shower, then his phone lit up, and now you're here. Ellis ran a hand through his damp hair. "Maren, please, let's not complicate matters further." I met his gaze, those familiar blue eyes that had once held such promise for me. "I'm not complicating things, Ellis. I'm simply no longer making it easy for you." The words hung in the air. Colette's eyes darted toward the door, a clear desire to depart evident, yet she remained trapped by the unfolding moment. As she finally moved to leave, she brushed past the side table, and a small envelope dislodged from her coat pocket, falling silently to the floor. She failed to notice. I waited until the door closed softly behind her. Then I bent down and retrieved it. Inside was a printed document detailing a lakeside condominium, registered under the name of an unfamiliar corporation. My fingers tightened around the paper. Ellis stood there, still damp from the shower that had initiated this entire sequence of events. For the first time in years, I looked at my husband and did not recognize the man gazing back at me. Ellis closed the front door after Colette departed, the latch clicking shut like a period at the end of a sentence I never wished to read. The house felt smaller, the walls closing in. I stood in the living room, the envelope still clutched in my hand, its edges sharp against my palm. He turned to face me, water still beaded on his neck from the shower. "This isn't what you believe," he stated. The words sounded practiced, almost rehearsed. "Colette and I have simply been talking, that's all." I remained motionless. The grandfather clock maintained its steady cadence, marking seconds that now felt significantly heavier. I could still detect her perfume lingering near the door, a scent intermingling with the faint aroma of his shampoo. "Talking," I repeated, the word tasting foreign. It felt woefully inadequate for what I had observed in their shared gaze. Colette's car had not yet pulled away. I heard its engine idling outside before it finally drove off. Ellis stepped closer, his hands held open as if approaching a skittish animal. "We should sit down. Talk like adults." "Adults?" I echoed, using the exact word Colette had employed. They had indeed coordinated their dialogue. I folded the envelope and slipped it into the pocket of my sweater. "How long have you two been preparing for this conversation?" He hesitated, his gaze drifting toward the stairs as if anticipating the sudden appearance of the children, despite Nolan being across the state and Briar away at college. "A few months. It just happened. Work matters evolved into something more. But our marriage has been over for some time, Maren. You know that." The words landed like stones dropped into placid water. I searched his face for any sign of guilt or shame. There was discomfort, certainly, but no genuine surprise, no panic. They had already meticulously constructed their narrative, brick by careful brick. I recalled all the late nights he had attributed to work projects. The weekends Colette had appeared at church functions with that polished smile, always inquiring about our family with precisely the right questions. "She knows things," I said quietly. "Where I visit my mother on Wednesdays, that Briar's dorm is 2 hours away. Even which side of the bed you sleep on now?" My voice remained level, but internally, the pieces clicked into place with agonizing clarity. This wasn't merely a matter of stolen moments. Colette had been integrated into the fringes of our lives, into my life. Ellis rubbed the back of his neck, a familiar gesture when he felt cornered. "You're exaggerating this situation. Colette has been a friend to both of us. She lost her husband. She understands what it's like when things become routine." Routine. I let the word resonate. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and drank it slowly. The cool liquid grounded me. He followed, lingering near the island where his phone still lay innocently. "How long have you both been waiting for me to step aside?" The question silenced him once more. He opened his mouth, then closed it. For a fleeting moment, his carefully constructed facade faltered. I saw the calculation there, the man who had already envisioned this new chapter without me in it. "We didn't intend to hurt you," he finally conceded. "But people change, Marin. Perhaps it's time we acknowledged that." I set the glass down with deliberate care. No slamming, no tears, just the quiet certainty of knowledge. "I'm not making this harder for you, Ellis. I'm simply refusing to make it easy." He attempted another tactic, his voice softening. "Let's not address this tonight. The children don't need to be involved. We can resolve this privately." His eyes flickered toward my pocket where the envelope rested. He was unaware I possessed it. Not yet. I considered our son, Nolan, 24 years old and forging his own path, and Briar, 19, finally finding her footing away from home. The thought of dragging them into this mess caused my chest to tighten. But something else steadied me: the truth. I needed to understand the depth of this entanglement before deciding on my course of action. Ellis reached for me, a tentative hand settling on my arm. I stepped back. His touch, once a source of comfort, now felt transactional. "You're being emotional," he murmured. "I understand, but we've built a life here. Don't jeopardize it over a single mistake." One mistake. The phrase echoed Colette's carefully chosen words from earlier. They had their narrative locked down: the distant wife, the lonely widower, the inevitable drift. I almost laughed at the sheer neatness with which their choices were packaged. Instead, I looked at him, the damp hair, the familiar jawline, the man with whom I had shared countless meals, intimate nights, and decades of life, and felt a peculiar detachment settling in. "Go to bed, Ellis," I said. "We both need rest." He lingered, searching my face for the emotional outburst he anticipated. When it didn't materialize, he slowly ascended the stairs. I waited until his footsteps faded, then withdrew the envelope once more. The details of the lakeside condominium stared back at me under the kitchen light. A property listing, deposit records, a future being constructed without my involvement. I sat at the island, phone in hand, and gazed at the blank screen. My mind was now operating with methodical precision, moving beyond the initial shock. This was more than infidelity. They had been planning, anticipating. The thought should have shattered me. Instead, it sharpened something deep within me, a resolve, cold and clear. The house was silent again, but it no longer felt like home. It felt like a stage set for the final act, and I was the only one who hadn't been privy to the script. The following morning dawned gray and hushed, the kind of Michigan autumn day that hinted at rain but withheld it. I prepared coffee as usual, the grinder's hum filling the kitchen, while Ellis moved about upstairs, dressing for work. He came down, his tie slightly askew, and kissed my cheek out of ingrained habit. I allowed it, my face remaining neutral as he gathered his keys and departed. The door closed behind him with a soft finality. Only then did I move. I began with our joint financial accounts on the laptop at the kitchen table. Login after login, account after account. Initially, the transfers appeared innocuous, small sums wired regularly to an entity named Vance Harbor Consulting. Ellis had mentioned it once, a tax consultant Colette had recommended. "Helps with business deductions," he'd said casually over dinner months ago. I had nodded then, trusting him implicitly. Now, I dug deeper. The company was linked directly to Colette, her signature affixed to official filings, her address listed. The payments weren't substantial individually, but consistent enough to be significant. Funds from our joint account, our money. I captured screenshots of everything, my heart steady but my mind racing through the implications. Upstairs, in Ellis's home office, the room carried the scent of paper and the faint aroma of leather from his chair. I meticulously went through the drawers, without haste. That's when I discovered the folder. Inside were printouts of the lakeside condominium, identical to the details from the envelope Colette had dropped. Payment schedules, a draft separation agreement dated weeks prior, lists of our assets neatly itemized in Ellis's handwriting, and a handwritten note that stopped me cold. Marin will resist at first. Wait until Briar leaves for school. My fingers traced the ink. The date coincided precisely with Briar's move-in day at college. They had timed this, not merely an affair, but a calculated exit strategy designed to leave me vulnerable. Children gone, finances quietly depleted, the narrative already pre-written. The betrayal sank deeper, but I did not weep. I photographed every page with my phone, employing careful angles and clear lighting. Evidence. That was what mattered now. I sat in his chair for a long moment, staring at the note. The office window overlooked our backyard, the maple tree we had planted when Nolan was small. Memories attempted to surface, but I pushed them down. Not now. Experiencing the full emotional weight would come later. Right now, I needed clarity. I called Nain Mercer. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was warm and no nonsense, as always. "Marin, you sound off. What's going on?" I recounted everything to her, the text message, Colette at the door, the folder, the note. No tears, just the facts. Nain listened without interruption, the way only a woman who had navigated her own painful divorce could. "Men like Ellis don't fear tears," she stated when I concluded. "They fear paperwork. Don't confront him yet. Document everything. And whatever you do, don't leave the house." Her practicality served as an anchor. We spoke for 20 minutes. She shared how she had learned through hard experience about hidden accounts and smooth-talking husbands. By the end of our conversation, she provided me with a name, Hollis Reed, a family law attorney in town. Old school, but sharp. "Tell him I sent you. He doesn't do drama. He does strategy." I thanked her and ended the call. The house felt different now. Less like a sanctuary, more like a chessboard. I made copies of the documents on our home printer, then meticulously replaced the originals exactly where I had found them. Small victories found in small details. Later that afternoon, Briar called from school. Her voice was light, enthusiastic about a new class. "Dad texted me yesterday," she said casually. "He asked if I'd be upset if Mom moved closer to Grandma. Said you two might need some space or something. Is everything okay?" The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. I gripped the phone tighter. Ellis was already planting seeds, attempting to rewrite the narrative with the children. "We're figuring some things out, honey," I managed, keeping my tone even. "Focus on your studies. I love you." After we hung up, I stood by the kitchen window again. The rain had finally begun, soft drops streaking the glass. I thought of the man who had once carried me over the threshold of this house, who had coached Nolan's soccer team, who had held Briar through her first heartbreak. That man felt distant, replaced now by someone capable of cold, calculated planning. But I was not helpless. Nain's words echoed in my mind. Paperwork. Protection first. I forwarded the crucial photographs to a secure email account and scheduled an appointment with Hollis Reed for the following day. Ellis arrived home that evening bearing flowers, white roses, my long-ago favorites. He placed them on the counter with a gentle smile. "I regret how last night unfolded. I still care about you, Marin. We can work through this." I accepted the flowers and arranged them in a vase. My hands moved with steady purpose. "Thank you," I said simply, but I saw it for what it was, damage control, not remorse. He watched me intently, searching for cracks in my demeanor. I offered him none. That night, as he slept in our bed, I lay awake on the edge, listening to his breathing. The papers concerning the lakeside condominium haunted my thoughts. The note about waiting for Briar. They had transformed our life into a timeline, a transaction. I would not allow them to dictate the ending. I met with Hollis Reed the following afternoon in his modest downtown office. The waiting room smelled of coffee and old books. At 58 years old, Hollis possessed a calm, measured presence, silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and a steady gaze that conveyed he had encountered every permutation of this story before. He offered neither false sympathy nor dramatic promises. "Do you desire revenge?" he inquired after reviewing the documents I had brought. "Or do you seek protection?" "Both," I answered without hesitation, "but protection first." He nodded, scrolling through the photographs on my tablet. Wise. Utilizing joint funds for this Vance Harbor consulting could prove advantageous during the division of assets. The premeditation, the note about waiting for your daughter's departure, indicates intent. That strengthens your position considerably. Hollis outlined the immediate steps with clarity. Back up everything. Photograph more. Remain in the house. Do not sign anything. Do not reveal the extent of your knowledge. Play the long game, Mrs. Whitlock. Let him believe you are still processing. The more he relaxes, the more he will falter. I departed his office with a folder of notes and a significantly clearer mindset. The drive home felt different. I was no longer merely reacting. I was actively preparing. Ellis initiated his new strategy that evening. He arrived home early with takeout from my favorite Italian restaurant. "I've been contemplating," he said as we sat at the table. "Perhaps we've both been unhappy, but I still care about you, Marin, deeply." I twirled pasta on my fork, nodding slowly. His words sounded sufficiently sincere for someone unaware I had met with a lawyer mere hours earlier. "It's a lot to process," I replied. Internally, I noted every carefully chosen phrase, every attempt to recast us as two individuals who had simply drifted apart. The subsequent few days followed a predictable pattern. Flowers, coffee delivered to my bedside, allusions to shared memories, all framed as damage control disguised as concern. I accepted it all with quiet grace, offering little in return. Each night, I added new observations to my private notes. The way he surreptitiously checked his phone when he believed I wasn't looking. His sudden, heightened interest in my mother's health. Then, Breyer called again. "Dad asked me yesterday if I thought you'd be happier closer to Grandma," she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "He made it sound like you were the one contemplating a move." "Mom, is something wrong?" The manipulation stung, but I maintained a warm tone. "We're working through some adult matters, sweetheart. Your dad and I have been together a long time. Don't worry, focus on your classes." After the call, I stood in the quiet kitchen, feeling the full weight of the situation. Ellis wasn't just leaving. He was attempting to paint me as the one who needed to depart, portraying me as unstable, the one requiring space. The strategy was cruel in its deliberate patience. I met with Hollis again for a follow-up consultation. He reviewed my newly compiled documentation and approved. "You're proceeding correctly. Stay put. Gather more evidence if possible. When the moment arrives, we will be prepared." Ellis's mask began to show slight fissures as the week progressed. He grew restless when I neither argued nor wept. One evening, he found me deliberately reviewing old photo albums. "Remember that trip to the cabin?" he asked, sitting beside me. "I remember," I replied softly, but I closed the album before he could steer the conversation. The shared memories no longer softened me as they might have once. They now felt like pages from someone else's narrative. That night, as rain pattered against the windows, I stood in the doorway of Breyer's empty room. Her posters still adorned the walls, a few stuffed animals resting on the bed. Ellis had been willing to wait until she was gone to dismantle everything. The thought further hardened my resolve. I was no longer solely protecting myself. I was safeguarding the truth before he could completely rewrite it. Hollis's words resonated with me. Sometimes the setting matters more than the argument. I needed the right moment, the right audience. Ellis approached me from behind in the hallway. "You've been rather quiet lately." I turned and met his gaze. "Just thinking." He searched my face, looking for the woman who used to forgive readily. He would not find her, not this time. I possessed the evidence. I had the plan. And for the first time since that message illuminated his phone, I felt something akin to control returning. 1 week following, the celebratory dinner marking the milestone anniversary for Ellis's enterprise arrived with the inevitability of a gathering storm. 30 years of his modest manufacturing venture were to be commemorated at the local country club, attended by his professional associates, personal friends, members of his congregation, and his family. Nolan had journeyed from another state, and Breyer had returned home for the weekend. Ellis had insisted on my attendance. "We must project a united front," he had stated that morning, meticulously adjusting his tie in the mirror. for the sake of the business and for the children. I had assented with quiet resignation. Internally, I recognized this as the very arena Hollis had alluded to. I had prepared myself with deliberate care, selecting a simple black dress adorned with pearls Ellis had presented to me on our 20th anniversary. Within my clutch, I carried a slender envelope containing the most incriminating evidence: digital captures of correspondence, transaction records from bank accounts, the listing for the Lakeside condominium, and a digitized copy of that handwritten directive. It was not exhaustive, but it was certainly sufficient. The club's grand ballroom shimmered, illuminated by ornate chandeliers and adorned with autumnal centerpieces. The air vibrated with the sound of laughter and the clinking of glassware. I navigated the throng with practiced grace, accepting pleasantries regarding the elegance of the occasion. Colette was present, naturally, officially designated as an event consultant. She was attired in a deep crimson gown, her hair elegantly swept upward. Our gazes met across the expanse of the room. She offered a courteous inclination of her head. I reciprocated without any discernible warmth. Ellis remained close by my side for the majority of the evening, his hand occasionally resting upon the small of my back, a deliberate performance for the assembled audience. Nolan and Briar appeared visibly relieved to witness our apparent solidarity. "You two look well together," Nolan remarked during the cocktail hour. I offered a smile and remained silent. When the dinner service commenced, Ellis ascended the stage to deliver his address. A hush fell over the room. He presented himself as the epitome of a prosperous, appreciative husband, tall, distinguished, and self-assured. 30 years, he began, his voice resonating warmly through the microphone. I couldn't have accomplished this without the unwavering support of my incredible wife, Marin. She stood by me through every obstacle. Applause erupted, echoing through the hall. I remained seated at our table, my hands clasped, acutely aware of the envelope's weight in my lap. Colette stood near the periphery, her smile suggesting a woman who already considered herself victorious. Ellis continued to build momentum. "We've navigated our share of challenges, as is common in any long marriage. At times, life necessitates courageous decisions, the graceful and honest embrace of new chapters." His words resonated with precision. Courageous decisions, new chapters. I observed a few individuals exchange knowing glances. The narrative was already subtly, elegantly being disseminated. The Whitlocks were separating amicably, two mature individuals making sensible choices. Ellis was strategically positioning himself as the thoughtful party initiating the transition. My pulse remained remarkably steady. I glanced toward Nolan and Briar. They appeared bewildered, but hopeful. Colette's smile broadened imperceptibly. Ellis concluded his remarks to further applause. As he stepped away from the microphone, he cast a glance in my direction, a flicker of what seemed like relief crossing his features. The performance was proceeding as planned. I rose from my seat. The chair scraped softly against the polished floor. Conversations momentarily faltered. All eyes turned toward me. Ellis paused mid-stride, surprise registering on his face. I approached the front, the envelope held in my hand, my heels making a measured sound on the wooden floor. The room grew profoundly still, expectant. This was not part of the planned proceedings. I stopped at the microphone. For a brief interval, I surveyed the faces before me, individuals we had known for years, our neighbors, our business associates. Then I spoke, my voice clear and composed. "Before my husband speaks of courageous decisions," I stated, "I believe everyone present should be aware of who has truly been orchestrating them." A deeper silence ensued. Ellis took a half step forward, but I continued. "I am not here to create a scene. My purpose is to share the truth." I opened the envelope and briefly displayed the first document. "Bank records," I announced, showing joint funds being transferred to an entity associated with Colette Vance. I placed that page down and presented another. "A Lakeside condominium they have been jointly exploring." A further page. "And this note in my husband's handwriting." I read aloud. "Marin will resist initially. Wait until Briar departs for school." Gasps rippled through the assembly. I did not raise my voice. It was unnecessary. The document spoke with sufficient clarity. Colette had become noticeably pale near the sidewall. Ellis's expression hardened, his hand clenching at his side. "I do not expect this room to take sides tonight," I declared, making eye contact with old friends. "I simply need everyone to recall the reality of what transpired." Nolan slowly stood at our table, his gaze fixed on his father. Briar's eyes were wide, welling with tears. The gravity of the moment bore down upon us all. Ellis moved toward the microphone. "Marin is understandably overwrought at the moment," he stated, forcing a semblance of concern into his smile. "This is a private matter." "No, Ellis," I interrupted, my tone even, still holding the microphone. "I was emotional last week. Tonight, I am providing documentation." The room remained frozen. Cameras that had been recording the speeches continued their operation. I stepped back from the microphone, leaving the envelope on the stand. The truth was now unveiled, not entirely, but sufficiently. Colette began to edge toward the exit. Nain, who had accompanied me as my guest, subtly moved to intercept her path, uttering a quiet word that I could not discern. I returned to my seat. The earlier applause had completely subsided. In its place was a stunned silence, punctuated by the low murmur of voices beginning to process what they had just witnessed. Ellis stood alone near the stage, his veneer of confidence finally fractured. For the first time, he appeared as a man who no longer held dominion over the narrative. The silence within the ballroom felt palpable, pressing against my skin. I resumed my seat at our table, the envelope now positioned on the podium behind me, an undeniable accusation. Heads swiveled between Ellis and me, whispers spreading like fissures across ice. Ellis regained enough composure to approach the microphone again. "Everyone, please. Marin has been under considerable stress. This is neither the time nor the place." I did not stand this time. I simply spoke from my seat, my voice carrying clearly in the quiet room. "The documents are available for anyone wishing to examine them. Transfers from our joint account, the condominium they selected together, the plan to await our daughter's departure for school before sidelining me." Nolan now rose fully, his chair scraping back with a loud noise. "Dad, is this true?" Ellis's mouth opened, but no smooth response materialized. Briar sat beside her brother, tears tracing paths down her cheeks. "You asked me if Mom was moving to Grandma's," she said, her voice small but distinct. "You made it sound like it was her idea." The room bore witness to the family's unraveling in real time. I felt no elation, only a profound sadness, mingled with a sense of relief. This was the cost of truth. Ellis attempted another approach, drawing nearer to the microphone. "We can discuss this privately as a family." "No," I replied calmly. "You chose this room to speak of courageous decisions. Now, the room understands what those decisions truly entailed." Colette had reached the side exit. Nain smoothly positioned herself in her way, not making physical contact, but standing with an air of quiet authority. "Leaving will not make the paperwork vanish, Colette." Colette's face flushed crimson. She glanced back at Ellis, but he was too engrossed in salvaging his position to offer assistance. For the first time, their coordinated narrative lacked a prepared response. I rose once more, this time solely to address the room with a definitive statement. "I do not require anyone here to choose sides. I simply need all of you to remember the truth. The remainder will be handled privately, as it should have been from the outset." Ellis finally reached the podium and gripped the microphone, his knuckles stark white. "Marin, this is profoundly humiliating for all of us." I met his gaze directly. "Humiliating is discovering that your husband and his mistress have been plotting your departure while you still share the same house. This is merely clarity." The words landed without malice, simply stating fact. Nolan approached me, placing a hand on my shoulder. Briar followed, dabbing her eyes. Their support in that moment was immeasurable. Around us, guests began to murmur, some rising to depart, others remaining to absorb the unfolding events. Phones were produced. The story would inevitably spread, but this time on my terms. Ellis stood in isolation at the center of the stage area, the spotlight still illuminating him from his earlier address. The confident businessman who had forged a company from inception now appeared diminutive, lost. For the first time in our marriage, he was devoid of control over the narrative, lacking prepared lines or my silent acquiescence to maintain an outward appearance of harmony. Colette departed through a side door when Nain shifted aside. I made no move to stop her. She was no longer the primary concern. As the gathering gradually dispersed, a few long-standing friends approached, offering words of quiet encouragement. Others avoided eye contact, uncertain how to navigate the sudden rupture. I understood. Change of this magnitude leaves everyone unsettled. Ellis finally descended and approached me, his face ashen. "We need to talk at home." I gathered my clutch. "We will, but not tonight. Tonight, the children and I will be processing what has just transpired." Nolan drove us home, Briar and me. The car was silent save for the engine's hum and the occasional sniffle from the back seat. I gazed out the window at the passing streetlights, feeling the adrenaline gradually recede. The house was dark upon our arrival. I prepared tea for Briar and sat with both children in the living room. We did not dissect every detail. We simply sat together. Nolan apologized for not perceiving the warning signs earlier. Briar embraced me tightly and whispered, "You didn't embarrass us, Mom." "He did," I replied. Their words settled something profound within me. Not a victory, not yet, but the genesis of healing. Upstairs, I paused at the threshold of our bedroom. Ellis's belongings were still present, yet the space already felt alien. I recalled the shower, the unattended phone, Colette's arrival at the door, the sequence of events that had led to this point. In the quiet of the house, with my children safely downstairs, I allowed myself a single, long, slow breath. Ellis no longer commanded the narrative, and for the first time in weeks, neither did fear. The days following the anniversary dinner unfolded slowly, akin to awakening from a prolonged, disorienting dream. Ellis bombarded me with text messages requesting a conversation. Colette dispatched an email, a lengthy, meticulously crafted apology that, paradoxically, still portrayed her as the wronged party. I perused them once, then forwarded the relevant ones to Hollis. No immediate response from me. Not yet. I met with Hollis again early the following week. We initiated the formal procedures: protective orders for financial assets, petitions for temporary arrangements. He advised me to proceed methodically. "You do not need to dismantle him," he stated. "Simply ensure the truth is allowed to perform its function." That felt congruent. My aim was not retribution that would leave me embittered. I sought liberation from the burden I had carried for an excessive duration. Nolan visited the house a few evenings later. We sat on the back porch as the leaves deepened into hues of crimson and gold. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, gazing into his coffee. "I thought you were merely being withdrawn lately. I didn't grasp what Dad was doing." I reached over and squeezed his hand. None of us grasped the complete picture until we were compelled to. "It's all right, we see it now." Briar remained for a few extra days before returning to school. One afternoon, she found me in the kitchen, a familiar habit when my mind required order, reorganizing the pantry. She encircled me from behind with her arms and rested her chin on my shoulder. "You didn't embarrass us," she repeated softly. "He did. I'm proud of you for maintaining your composure. I don't know if I could have." Her words mended something I had not realized remained raw. We shared a brief cry then, not of pain, but of catharsis. Mother and daughter standing together in the same kitchen where that initial message had materialized. I revisited the locations that had served as the genesis of it all. The bathroom where Ellis had been showering, the counter where his phone had illuminated, the front door where Colette had stood anticipating an empty house. Each spot seemed diminished now, less potent. One morning, I stood in the steam of my own shower, allowing the hot water to cascade over my shoulders, washing away the pervasive tension I had normalized for years. I had ceased bearing the imperative to diminish myself to preserve the peace. I had ceased carrying the fear that speaking out would shatter everything. The truth had already fractured what required fracturing. What remained was space for myself, for my children, for whatever lay ahead. Ellis vacated the premises 2 weeks later. The divorce would be a protracted process, but the boundaries were now clearly defined. He appeared older as he loaded the final box into his vehicle. A part of me still grieved for the man I had married, but I no longer mourned the man he had become. On a quiet evening, I once again stood at the kitchen window. The house was mine in a way it had not been for years, not due to a sense of victory, but because of the presence of honesty. Sometimes, the doorbell does not announce the arrival of the person who devastates your life. Sometimes, it brings the truth you were finally prepared to confront. If this narrative has resonated with you, please share your listening location. And if you have ever found yourself needing to maintain composure while your entire world underwent transformation, know that you are not alone. I am eager to hear about your experiences. Kindly leave a comment below to share your thoughts. We have a wealth of similar narratives awaiting, authentic, raw, and imbued with hope. Subscribe to ensure you do not miss upcoming installments. Let us continue to navigate these moments together.